The story begins with a high school student named Yang Jun going to the park today on a date with his girlfriend. But to his misfortune, the guy asked for help because he suddenly began to drown while trying to save a dog that had fallen into the water. The guy tried with all his might to get out of the water because he was very young and did not want to die such a ridiculous death so early. Yang Jun then thought carefully and decided to grab onto the plants, and then he would be saved and could return to his home. The guy used his belt as a rope and wanted to catch himself in the plants and thought that it would be easy, but he failed. The guy began to drown and realized that nature was mocking him and he could not believe that he would die such a stupid death. And at that moment he lost consciousness, and after some time the girl asked him to wake up and he could not understand where he ended up. The girl began to provide immediate assistance to the guy and he slowly began to come to his senses and return to life. And suddenly after that, Yang Yun suddenly woke up and the girl was happy about it, and the guy asked the girl who she was. The girl said that her name was Zhao Nan and she thanked the guy for fearlessly saving her beloved dog. The guy told the girl that his name was Yang Jun and he thanked her for saving him. The guy thought she looked like a star. At that moment when Yang Yun and Zhao Nan were having a nice conversation with each other, a girl appeared and said, "Was it really Yang Yun?" And then the woman said to a girl named Lily, "Didn't she really see how this guy flirted with the girl and it's good that she broke up with him?" The guy approached Lily and said that he could explain everything and that he had just heroically saved her beloved dog from drowning. The woman told Yang Jun that he was just a ragamuffin from the village and asked if he didn't work part-time at night to survive. Lily told the guy that she only invited him there to break up with him because they weren't right for each other. And at that moment the girl handed the guy an envelope and said that it was an invitation to her wedding next month. Yang Yun looked closely at this invitation and froze in surprise and could not believe this unexpected news. And at that moment Zhao Nan came to the girls and asked them to wait and told them that it seemed they had misunderstood everything. The woman asked the guy to stay away from her girl and Lily did not want to listen to Zhao Nan and asked the woman to leave from there. Zhao Nan apologized to the guy for being the cause of such a misunderstanding and ruining his relationship. Yang Jun told the girl that it was not her fault and these girls went there already prepared. He needed time to think it over. Zhao Nan said that there was nothing shameful in being born poor and he should believe in himself and gave him her business card. After these words, the girl took her puppy in her hands and began to leave from there. The guy stood at that time and could not forget Lily's words. Yang Yun was very angry and angrily squeezed this envelope tightly in his hand and thought that Lily's actions were very vile. And at that moment someone asked the guy to leave from there and said that this was just a girl. Yang Jun asked who was there. And suddenly, at that very second, a creature resembling a man appeared in front of Yang Yun. The guy was very scared by this. The guy looked intently at this creature and asked how he appeared there and whether he was a man or a spirit. The creature thought a little and answered the guy and said that he was not some kind of spirit but was an unrecognized deity. The creature said that he was one of the 12 unrecognized deities of the cultivation world and his name was Yuntian Shi. Yang Yun listened to him carefully and asked if he really was a deity and if he really just appeared there. Yuntian Shi told the impudent man that he had already forgotten about the vessel of the universe that he had picked up and immediately the deity and the vessel appeared to him. The deity said that if the guy was so ignorant, he should have looked at his hand and Yang Jun noticed a symbol on his hand. Yang Yun thought that it really was that vessel and it seems that Yuntian Shi was not joking about the fact that he was a deity. And after that, Yang Jun asked the master to teach him various techniques so that he would begin to develop and become stronger. Yuntian Shi told the guy that the path to understanding lasted thousands of years and it was very complex and dangerous and it required courage. Yuntian Shi told the guy that he had just shown weakness in front of some girl and how he wanted to practice with such a mindset. Yang Yun said that he and the girl had nothing more in common and he swore that he would pay for this humiliation and San Qing would regret it. The deity looked at the guy's gaze and realized that he was very angry and determined and he really liked it. Yuntian Shi said that it seems their meeting was predetermined by fate. He thought that the guy really looked like his student. Yuntian Shi immediately approached the guy and said that now he would correct his thoughts and habits and teach him an incredible cultivation technique. And at that moment a bright glow appeared and the guy immediately felt that so much energy was pouring into his consciousness. The guy thought that it seemed like he had been given unique knowledge and he felt that his senses had become more perfect. Yuntian said that although the guy was given knowledge from this vessel of the universe, he could not yet use it fully. Young Jun decisively told the gentleman that he would definitely take revenge on the girl when he came to her wedding. And then the guy's phone rang and then someone shouted at him and asked why he was chilling and lazing around all day. Yang Iyun asked for forgiveness and said that he would soon return back, and Yun Tian could give the guy one piece of advice and said that everything depended only on him. Yun Tian she thought and said that he did not want him to consider him only a teacher and actually wanted to become a father for the guy. And then Yun Tian noticed that the guy had disappeared somewhere and he said that he would not allow him to take advantage of him and immediately get out of there. Meanwhile, the man scolded Yang Jun and asked if he really wanted to quit his job, and the guy asked the manager for forgiveness. Yang Jun at that moment thought that so many events happened today that he completely forgot about his shift. And suddenly Yang Iyun noticed that two men were carrying a girl and it seemed that it was the first beauty of the school, Lu Lingling. Yang Iyun realized that it looked like the girl was drunk, and besides, Lu Lingling was his classmate and he wondered if it was necessary to stop them. Meanwhile, his boss continued to scold him and asked if he had listened to him and did he really want to lose his job. At the same time, Yang Iyun was thinking about whether he would be able to keep his job if he contradicted him because he supported his sister and grandmother. The guy still couldn't forget Lily's words that she told him that he wasn't suitable for her because he was a beggar. The boss stood in front of the guy and continued to talk to the guy and asked if he was listening to him and what he was thinking about all this time. And at that moment the guy looked at the boss and suddenly said that he would no longer feel sorry for himself and would be strong. The boss was perplexed by Yang Jun's words and he didn't understand why the guy answered his questions with such unrelated nonsense. Meanwhile, the guys dragged Lu Lingling into a room where many guys were sitting and they said that this girl was just in time. The guys wanted to play and have fun with this girl and they asked their boss for permission to play with her. The man asked his guys to be a little easier with her and said that they still needed to give this girl to Ruan Shao. And at that moment, Yang Iyun suddenly burst into the room and kicked the guy in the face and told them to immediately let the girl go. The gang leader was very surprised that this guy managed to knock out his man so easily and asked the guy who he was. Yang Jun realized that he managed to break this door very easily and he wondered if this was the result of complete purification. And at that very second the man wanted to hit Yang Jun, but the guy sharply dodged his blow and realized that his reaction had improved. The guys hit Yang Jun, but he didn't feel any pain and realized that he had become much stronger than before. And suddenly Yang Iyun kicked two men at the same time and thought that the speed of his kicks had also increased significantly. After this, Yang Iyun approached the man and dealt a strong blow to his face and realized that his strength had also increased. And at that moment the gang leader grabbed a broken bottle and told the guy that he had contacted the wrong people because they were Ruan Shao's people. The leader was very relaxed and, lighting a cigarette, asked the guy how he wanted to pay them for this impudence. But Yang Jun, without any problems, very quickly dealt with the leader, and after some time the leader asked the guy for forgiveness. Yang Jun tied up all the bandits and told them not to get girls drunk again, otherwise they would guess what he would do to them. After these events, in the evening of the same day, Yang Iyun brought Lu Lingling to his apartment and carefully put her to bed. Yang Iyun looked at Lu Lingling and thought how could he even think of bringing home a girl drugged with alcohol. The guy thought that it was painful because he had never been alone with a girl in a room and he only held hands with his ex. And at that moment, Yun Tian she suddenly appeared in front of him and said that the first time everything was always unusual. Yang Jun told his uncle that he scared him very much. Yun Tian asked what he called him, because he left him there and didn't even call him master. And at that time Lu Lingling woke up and the guy told the master that their affairs were bad and asked if there was a way to bring her to her senses. Yun Tian told the guy that if he decided to save her, it meant that he had a good heart and agreed to help him. The master said that then he would fall into sleep, but before that he wanted to give the guy knowledge about a technique called the channels of 30 hands. Yun Tian said that the guy could see this technique himself, and after he carried out a complete cleansing, his powers dried up and he asked not to wake him up. The guy calmed down and, concentrating, began to look for the equipment he needed, and in the end he finally managed to find it. Yang Jun began dispersing and touched the girl with his finger and began to heal her and hoped that it would help her. After all these events, early the next morning, Lu Lingling woke up and immediately asked in surprise where she was. The girl started to panic and scream throughout the room and called the guy a maniac and thought that he stole her yesterday. The guy immediately ran up to Lu Lingling and asked her to calm down and listen to him carefully and not make hasty conclusions. The girl was ready to listen to him only if he had a reasonable explanation because she didn't think that he was that kind of man. The guy asked if she remembered that yesterday she was drunk and it was he who saved her, but the girl didn't remember anything. The girl thought and began to remember. It seems like yesterday this scoundrel Wan Wenhao took her to a bar and apparently got her drunk there. But unfortunately, she did not feel any relief from this and asked the guy then why she woke up in the morning without clothes at his house. Yang Yiyun looked at the girl despondently and said that she actually undressed herself last night because she was very drunk. But the girl said that she didn't even want to think about it and the guy asked her to drink more liquid to be sure to come to her senses. The girl asked the guy for forgiveness and said that she had made a mistake in him because she thought that no man could resist her beauty. The girl was thinking about why he didn't try to flirt with her and the guy said that they were late and had to go to school. 10 minutes later they were already standing in front of the school gates and the girl said that she had a new friend and the guy didn't want to be her friend. The girl asked if they had given her something to drink yesterday, but why did she not have a hangover in the morning and felt great? The guy said that because he knows the ancient Chinese massage technique that removed all alcohol from the human body. The girl said that next time he should help her relax and the guys thought that such a loser as Yang Jun might be lucky. The girl said goodbye to the guy and said that they would have lunch together and she would treat him. The guy thought that this seductress had finally left there. And suddenly, right after that, someone appeared behind the guy and asked if his name was Yang Yiyun. The guy was very surprised by this. There was a tall guy standing behind Yang Jun and he asked him to stay away from Lu Lingling and said that he was just a pathetic loser. The guy asked Yang Jun if he really thought that she would fall in love with a loser like him and asked him to look in the mirror more often. Yang Yiyun was very surprised by this guy's words and asked him not to rush to conclusions and first listen to him carefully. But suddenly the guy swung his fist and said that his name was Yu Shaogang and he hoped that the guy would remember his fist for the rest of his life. But suddenly Yang Yiyun hit him back with all his might and asked if he really thought that he was afraid of him because he just didn't want to be late for class. Yu Shaogang was immediately thrown to the side by such a strong blow and crashed into a tree. People couldn't understand how this was possible. Yang Yiyun smiled and thought that he had miscalculated his strength and hit this guy who thought he was tough a little harder. Meanwhile, lunch break came and Yang Yiyun stood outside the school cafeteria and waited for Lu Lingling, but she did not come. And when the guy got tired of waiting for the girl behind him, Lu Lingling appeared with her friends and asked the guy to join them. The girl said that they had already booked a table for them and wanted to quickly start the meal and asked to quickly go there. Lu Lingling asked to be allowed to introduce her best friends to him and pointed to the girl with glasses and said that her name was Qian Xiaobei. Lu Lingling pointed to the second girl and said that her name was Lin Huan and she were also best inseparable friends. Yang Yiyun looked at the girl carefully and wondered why Lin Huan looked away in the other direction because it was strange. Lu Lingling said that she and Xiao Bei would order food and asked the guy to be alone with Lin Huan for now and get to know each other better. The guy looked closely at Lin Huan and realized that she never looked at him and wondered if she really didn't like him. And at this moment, Yang Yiyun suddenly walked up to Lin Huan and grabbed her shoulders. The girl didn't think he was so persistent. And at that moment the guy came as close to her as possible and asked her to listen because he had to tell her something. Meanwhile, Lu Lingling and Xiao Bei were returning back and the girl said that Yang Yiyun studied traditional medicine. Lu Lingling looked at them and said that they had returned, but when she saw them, she and her friend stood behind the wall and were shocked. The girls thought what they just saw because it was impossible and Lu Lingling thought that she was hallucinating. At that moment, Yang Yiyun was giving the girl a massage and she said that it was too strong, but the guy wanted the result. But unexpectedly, Lu Lingling quickly ran up to the guy and hit him in the face and asked what they were doing there in the middle of the day. But Yang Yiyun became very angry with the girl and asked why she did this to him because he was just giving the girl a massage. Yang Yiyun said that Lin Huan had poor blood circulation like his aunt and a massage would really help her come to her senses now. The guy said that besides, she should have taken the medications that he advised her and Lu Lingling didn't know how to answer the guy. But after thinking for a while, Lu Lingling kicked the guy and asked him to quickly get out of there and not come back. The guy was in despair. He thought that he did good deeds, but he was kicked out of there and it was very unfair. And suddenly, at the moment when Yang Yiyun thought about it, Yu Xiaogang appeared there along with the guys and said that it was the same guy. The guys mocked Yang Yiyun and asked if he was doing taekwondo and said that he was unlucky today. Yang Yiyun asked if it was this guy again, and this time he came with help. Yang Jun asked why he was still following him. At that moment, Lu Lingling suddenly appeared there with her friends and wondered what happened there. Yu Xiaogang grinned and was very happy that Lu Lingling was also there, and finally she could see the shame of this Yang Jun. Yu Xiaogang told the guy that he asked him to stay away from Lu Lingling and otherwise they would teach him a lesson. The guys were discussing that it was all because of the main beauty of the school, and Lu Lingling wondered if he was in conflict because of her. But unexpectedly, Yang Yiyun listened carefully to the guy named Ning Wu and agreed with him and said that there was no problem and began to leave from there. Ning Wu was surprised and asked the guy if he really didn't like her, and he just refused her, and Yang Yiyun asked who said that he liked her. The guys told Yang Jun that he couldn't just leave there, and he was surprised and asked what they still wanted from him. Yang Yiyun asked if they really wanted him to be together with Lu Lingling and said that he wanted this in front of all the people. Ning Wu got very angry and said that this had nothing to do with him and he just wanted to hit the guy and teach him a lesson. The guys quickly ran up to Yang Jun and wanted to hit the guy. Suddenly the guy didn't allow them to do this and held their hand. After this, Yang Jun said that unfortunately they were unlucky today and they could thank Yu Xiaogang for this. Ning Wu realized that this guy was a good opponent and it was not surprising that he was able to defeat Yu Xiaogang without any problems. Ning Wu wanted to attack the guy and teach the impudent man a lesson, but suddenly Yang Yiyun was faster and dealt a powerful blow to Ning Wu's face. Ning Wu immediately fell to the ground and Yang Jun said that he hoped that this would not happen and asked if there were more people willing. Lu Lingling was surprised when Yang Yiyun learned to fight like that, and she didn't think that she would ever find him attractive. That same evening, Yang Jun was sitting in his apartment and it seemed to him that the improvement of the technique of the creator of the universe was successful. At the same time, he looked at the ancient books that the master in the art Zhu Yang left him. He learned about the Zhu Yang pill, which allowed a person not to age. In the cultivation world, it was considered an ordinary pill, but in their world, it was a treasure, and he wanted to learn how to make pills in large quantities. And at that moment his phone rang and someone told him that he was in Joji's building and he was in huge trouble. Yang Yiyun immediately became wary and wondered if Lu Shiji had had a run-in with someone and hoped that he would have time to get there. Meanwhile, people approached Lu Shiji and asked if he knew what he had just done and how he wanted to correct it. Lu Shiji was Yang Jun's childhood friend and he asked the men for forgiveness and said that he did not do it on purpose. The man told the guard Lu Shiji that he had an agreement to buy and sell this porcelain vase and it was worth 200,000. And then the guy told the man to calm down and said that he had only signed the contract and had not yet paid, and a simple security guard could pay half of this amount. The man told Song Shao that he was a very generous person, and Song Shao said that this bad man did not do this on purpose. Lu Shiji said that he agreed to the man's conditions, and at that moment Yang Yiyun appeared there and asked the guy what happened. Meanwhile, the girl told manager Zhao that the meeting was starting soon and Miss Zhao asked to take her there. And suddenly at that moment Miss Zhao noticed that Yang Yiyun was asking people if this vase was worth 200,000. The girl was surprised what happened there, and Miss Zhao said that she just thought she saw a familiar face. Song Shao said that it was real porcelain from the Song dynasty and they were not even asked to compensate for the full amount of damage. And then Lu Shiji approached his friend and asked him to stop arguing and said that these were his problems and he would come up with something. At the same time, Yang Yiyun looked closely at this vase and wondered if it was Song dynasty porcelain and he wanted to know about it. Yang Jun thought that after the master carried out the purification, not only his physical abilities improved, but also his perception. And on top of all this, he knew history very well and now he was able to very quickly understand the value and age of any object. On these fragments he noticed the remains of modern materials and he also smelled a strong smell of chemicals. Lu Shiji looked at his friend and asked what he managed to notice, and Yang Yiyun squeezed the fragment in his hand and broke it into pieces. But unexpectedly at this moment, Yang Yiyun became very angry from the fact that they wanted to deceive his friend and hit the man in the face. Song Shao told them that not only did they break an ancient thing, but they also dared to hit an innocent man. Yang Jun said that they set up his friend to pay compensation and it was strange that he did not beat them to death. Lu Shiji asked the guy what was the matter and Yang Yiyun said that this vase was a fake and these men were swindlers. The man stood next to Song Shao and said that all his words were lies and besides, he had no evidence. Lu Shiji also became very interested and he asked his friend how he knew that the vase was a fake. Yang Jun said that he was the best student in history and at first glance he realized that it was a fake because otherwise they would have gone to the police. The man realized that the guy managed to see through their deception and he told Yang Jun that he was right and wanted to leave there. But suddenly Lu Shiji blocked their way. He was very angry and said that they wanted to deceive him and get out of there so easily. Lu Shiji immediately dealt many blows to these impudent swindlers and only after that did he feel relieved. After this incident, the friends were sitting in a restaurant and Lu Shiji thanked his friend and said that if he had, they would have deceived him. Yang Jun remembered that when he joined the army he told him that he wanted to become a soldier and in good troops people did not sit idly by. Lu Shiji said that now there was such a society that few people faced difficulties, and it was difficult for poor people like them to earn money. Yang Jun thought about his friend's words and at that moment thought that maybe now it has become easy to earn this money. And then suddenly Yang Jun stood up and said enthusiastically that he had an idea and he told his friend that they would build a business empire. Unexpectedly, Lu Shiji spat his coffee in Yang Jun's face in surprise and asked where he learned to joke like that. Yang Jun told his friend that really, how could he be such a rash and naive guy? Yang Jun said that he had a recipe for developing one drug and if he learned how to produce it. Yang Yun said that then they would revolutionize the entire cosmetics industry in China and Lu Shiji asked where he got the recipe from. Yang Yun said that it was difficult to explain, but suddenly his phone rang and he had to answer the call. And then suddenly the interlocutor asked Yang Jun if he could give him a great massage right now. Lu Shiji was very interested and listened carefully to his conversation, and Yang Yun said that he was just having dinner with his friend and was busy. But Lu Lingling said that if he helps me, she will tell all his friends that he doesn't like girls. The guy asked her to consider that he had given up and asked her not to tell anyone this terrible and false gossip. After some time, the guys continued to sit in the restaurant and Lu Shiji told his friend that he was lonely but needed to be restrained. Yang Yun was very surprised by such words and asked his friend what he was just thinking about and in fact he understood everything wrong. The next day, Yang Yun was walking in a suburb in the Yaowan Mountains and thought about how he almost embarrassed himself in front of his friend yesterday. According to the book of the art of Zhu Yang, which was given to him by his master, in order to make a youth pill, he needed to find a plantain. And suddenly at that moment an elderly man appeared in front of him and asked the guy if he was also looking for medicinal herbs. Yang Jun told the man that he was looking for plantain in this area and asked if he knew where he needed to go. The man asked the guy to walk along this mountain road 200 meters to the east and then he would notice a stream, and then go down along the stream and go through a bamboo and pine grove and reaching the mine he would be in place. After that, the guy walked along this road for 5 hours but didn't find anything, and at that moment he thought maybe this old man had deceived him. At that moment, the guy suddenly heard some rustling in the bushes and suddenly a huge snake appeared from there and scared the guy. Suddenly the snake slid past the guy and chased the animal and the guy thought that her target was not him and he was and that was good. The guy realized that this time he was in a strong mood and he didn't even know that giant pythons lived in this area. The guy noticed that this animal was very nimble, but in the end the snake managed to knock him down and he looked at the guy with his eyes. The guy looked at all this and thought that this creature needed help, because in the wild the strong ate the weak. After the breakup, everyone seemed nice and beautiful to the guy and he realized that it was time to show strength. The python wanted to finish off the animal, but Yang Jun quickly ran there and, taking the animal in his arms at the last moment, saved it. The guy started to fight with the python and the animal wanted to hit him with its tail, but he blocked the blow and said that he already knew this technique. Yang Jun began to mercilessly beat the python and asked the animal not to stop and respond to him with its own attacks. The guy grabbed the snake by the tail and threw it with all his might to the ground and said that there was nothing special about it and he easily dealt with it. And at that moment the animal looked at the guy and waved his small hands at him and the guy asked if he wanted him to go with him. The guy was surprised that the animal was not afraid of him at all and understood everything he said and carried out various orders. And after a long search, Yang Jun was finally happy that he noticed the plantain that he had been looking for so long. The guy began to climb the mountain and thought that if there were giant snakes nearby, then there were unusual herbs nearby. Climbing this mountain, the guy noticed a ginseng plant and a strange white plant was sprouting next to it. And at that moment a voice told the guy that he felt the aura of the star soul flower. It was a very rare plant in the universe. The voice told the guy that this flower helped him restore his strength and asked him to quickly pick it before it was too late. The flower began to enter his mark and the guy realized that it was convenient and he could easily collect all the plantains along the way. The guy looked at the animal and thought that it looked like this sable was very smart since he understood it, but unfortunately he could not take it home. But the sable was very cute and so Yang Jun said that he would be in danger there and should go with him. After this, the guy hugged the sable and as a result, this smart forest animal was forced to become Yang Jun's faithful friend. Yesterday, Yang Jun managed to find all the necessary herbs. He processed them as it was written in the book, but did not see any result. The guy thought maybe an alchemical furnace was needed and it seemed there wasn't enough power, so he set the stove to maximum heat. And at that moment someone knocked and the guy ran to open the door and when he opened the door Lu Lingling was standing there. The guy looked at the girl with surprise and misunderstanding and asked why she came there and what she needed from him. Lu Lingling said that such a beauty like her came to him and he greeted her in this way and it was not at all friendly. And at that moment the girl asked the guy what stank there and the guy remembered that the stove was on and ran to the kitchen. But suddenly he saw pills in the frying pan and wondered if they were ready. The girl said it was very beautiful. Yang Jun noticed that these pills looked exactly like what was said in the manual, but the color of his pills was a little lighter. It seems that this was due to the fact that he did not use the alchemical furnace, but for them mortals this was enough and he succeeded. Lu Lingling looked at the guy and asked why he burst into tears and had he really gone crazy? Yang Jun told the girl that it was none of her business and asked her why she came there, because obviously she didn't come for a massage. The girl said that he told her that he knew medicine and that's why she came for help. The guy thought that in reality she behaved completely differently. The girl said that she had a pimple and she didn't know how to get rid of it because she couldn't go to school like that. The guy thought it was time to test the effectiveness of the pills and she fell into his trap just like a laboratory mouse. The girl asked the guy if he had a remedy for acne and why he smiled so much and was he really up to something nasty? The guy said that he had a youth pill that he prepared according to his grandfather's recipe and it was very effective. The girl got angry and asked if he was talking about those smelly things from the frying pan and why he was making fun of her. The guy asked why she didn't believe him because she saw his medical skills or she decided to stay at home for the rest of her life. The girl decided and said that she would eat him, but only if he himself put the pill in her mouth because it stank and she did not want to touch it. The girl said that in order to get rid of the pimple she was ready to do anything and after these words she quickly swallowed the pill. The girl said that she didn't taste nasty at all, but rather had a sweet and fresh taste and she noticed that she relaxed and her body began to go numb. Yang Yun asked if she was serious because she only took one pill and the girl said that he made her do it. But suddenly the guy noticed that there was no pimple on Lu Lingling's face, but her skin also became lighter and he did not expect such an effect. The guy brought a mirror to the girl and she looked at herself in the mirror and said that it was simply incredible and her skin became clear. The girl thanked the guy for his help and unexpectedly he kissed her. The guy was very surprised by the sudden kiss. After that, the guy fell to the floor and could not move from surprise and the girl said that she did not think that he would be innocent. Yang Yun then came close to Lu Lingling and showed her the jar and said that all the remaining pills were there. The guy said that they should have lasted for a week and then she wouldn't have to worry about acne and other troubles at all. After that, Lu Lingling quickly left this room and wondered why her heart was beating so hard and did she really fall in love with him? After this, the guy concentrated and realized that in the ancient method, the recipe for eternal youth described a technique similar to the art of imitating animals. It also contained combinations of different attack and defense techniques and if only he could figure out what it said. Yang Jun thought that fighting skills would be very useful to him, because in life nothing could be achieved by resorting only to brute force. The guy had been improving for several days and hoped that this would eventually give him at least some result. And at that moment a message came to his phone and Yang Jun was surprised who could write to him at such a late time. Lu Lingling wrote to him that she told her father about his pills and gave them to her mother and she liked the result. Her father invited him to dinner tomorrow. Yang Yun was happy because he had already forgotten that the Lu Lingling family had their own business and this was a great opportunity to show off. The next day, Yang Jun was driving a car and the driver said that he was very surprised that the pill maker was so young. The guy said that therefore there was nothing surprising because he only used his grandfather's recipe, which was passed down from generation to generation. The guy expected her that Lu Lingling lived in the most luxurious cottage area of the city, and this meant that her family owned a more serious business. And after a short journey, the driver told Mr. Yang that they had arrived and the guy thought that it was too formal. And when Yang Yun entered the house, he was met by Lu Lingling in a luxurious dress and said that she had already fallen in love with him. The girl quickly ran to him and said that she had been waiting for him all day and hugged him lightly. The guy thought what was happening there. And at that moment, Yang Yun furrowed his eyebrows and realized that there was something unclean there, and Lu Lingling was clearly portraying insincere emotions. An angry guy stood in front of them and Yang Jun told the girl that she was using him as a shield and again causing him a lot of problems. Lu Lingling said that initially she only wanted to meet with him Lin Huan and Qian Bei, but she didn't know that this troublesome freak was also invited. The girl pressed the guy tightly and asked him to believe her and said that she didn't have any feelings and he didn't lag behind her, and she demanded help from Yang Jun. And then the guy came up to them and told Lin Ling that maybe she wasn't interested in him, but he didn't need a reason to get angry at some rogue. Lu Lingling asked the guy what he was saying and said that all the guys like him that she had met were assholes. And at that moment, unexpectedly, Yang Yun hugged the girl and told his beloved that she shouldn't have wasted her nerves on this worthless guy. This guy got mad at these words and asked Yang Yun how he dared to call him worthless and began to attack him. The girl asked the guy to be careful and said that Ho Yao practiced martial arts and fought very well. Yang Yun dodged his blow without any problems and realized that thanks to that technique, the blows of mere mortals seemed too slow to him. Ho Yao told the guy that he was not bad and it was not surprising that Lu Lingling was interested in him, and that's why he wanted to beat him. Yang Jun said that worthless people remained worthless all their lives and, approaching, hit the guy in the face. Ho Yao asked the guy how he dared to hit him in front of everyone because even his own father did not beat him. And then Lu Lingling's father, named Lu Shanhai, came out to them and asked the guys since they came there to go inside. Yang Yun looked at the man and he noticed that he was watching what was happening from the side, and at a critical moment he intervened. The guy thought that apparently he wanted to study him from afar first, and he was a rather calculating and cunning person. After that, they all gathered inside and Ho Yao thought that Yang Yun might cause him too much trouble and interfere with his plans. Lu Shanhai said that if everyone was gathered, he invited them to start eating and make them feel at home. Everyone started eating and Lu Lingling's father told Yang Jun that he had helped his daughter a lot last time and that's why he trusted him. Lu Shanhai told the guy that today's lunch was a thank you for what he did and he didn't forget about it at all. Yang Jun asked the man not to thank him and said that he only did what he had to do and could not leave the girl in trouble. The man smiled and told the guy that he was modest, and by the way, his wife and daughter took the youth pill and they should have been put on sale. Ho Yao said, "Were these the same pills that made you look 5 years younger, and where did he get these priceless pills?" Yang Yun smiled at the guy and said that he was exaggerating everything and these were ordinary pills prepared according to a family recipe. Ho Yao said that the recipe for these pills was developed by traditional medicine masters and was the best remedy for beauty and health. Ho Yao smiled and said that only people from narrow circles could get them and he could not know about this because he was a loser. Ho Yao said that he made inquiries about Yang Yun and found out that he came from a poor family and his father had gone missing in the army. Now Yang Yun could only work part-time and he had no right to sit at the same table with them, but Lu Shanhai told the guy to stop this conversation. Everyone was surprised and the man said that it was Yang Jun who was developing youth pills and why didn't he have the right to sit with them at the same table. Lu Shanhai said that on top of everything, he saved his daughter and if anyone said anything bad about this guy, he was ready to crush him into dust. Ho Yao was very surprised by these words and could not believe that this poor boy independently developed the recipe. Ho Yao said that even if this was the case, their grandfathers betrothed him and Lingling in childhood, but they could not break this promise. Lu Lingling said that she was only 11 years old at that time and then no one could foresee what would happen in the future. Ho Yao ran out of arguments and looked at Uncle Lu Shanhai and asked if he would deny all this. Lu Shanhai thought that back then he had a lot of work and Lingling was with her grandfather all the time and he knew nothing about it. Friend Lu Lingling said that although Yang Yun was still a student, he already had similar knowledge in medicine. Ho Yao got angry and said that they simply didn't like him and that's why they humiliated him with the whole honest company. Ho Yao said that he didn't care what the others said and said that the time for the promise made 10 years ago would soon come. Ho Yao said that he would definitely marry the woman destined for him and he would take her with him. Yang Jun said that the guy got daydreaming and hit him in the face. He told Ho Yao that he had just read a lot of novels and hadn't he heard that the Lu family was against it? Ho Yao told Yang Jun that this was too much for him and thought that if it weren't for Lu Shanhai, he would have dealt with this guy. Lu Shanhai did not expect that this Yang Yiyun would dare to behave like this in front of influential people, and later he would become a talent in business. 2 hours later, Lu Shanhai told Yang Jun that he was only responsible for the technology and the Lu family provided the raw materials and the site. Lu Shanhai asked to divide their cooperation into 10 parts and 7 of them would go to the Lu family and 3 parts to him. Yang Jun said that they agreed. The man was glad and gave him a contract and said that if he had no questions, he could sign. Yang Yiyun thought that he could not take part in the sales process and therefore he could only transfer the right of sale to the Lu family. Lu Shanhai told the guy that there was another unoccupied house in this area and he wanted to express gratitude to him for saving his daughter and give him this house. Yang Yiyun said that obedience was the best politeness and thanked Uncle Lu for his generous gift. Yang Jun sat in a good mood and thought that his journey to strike back had finally begun successfully. A month later, Yang Yiyun stood with his friend Lu Shiji and told him that they would create a business empire. Lu Shiji said that he did not expect the youth pill he created to be not only popular, but now it could only be purchased at auction. Yang Jun said that the youth pill was not his only idea and asked how else he would have dared to open a company with him. And then Lu Lingling called him and asked if he wasn't going to buy a car today and the guy completely forgot about it. Meanwhile, the girls were waiting for Yang Jun at the Qian family's car dealership and friend Lingling asked if it was impossible to be punctual. The guy smiled and said that there were traffic jams everywhere on the street and asked the girls for forgiveness for his mistake. Lu Lingling told Beibei that this was her family's salon and asked Yang Yiyun to help her choose a good car. Beibei agreed with her best friend and asked in what price range and what model she wanted the car. Yang Jun said that he wanted some modern car for around 800,000 and thought that he would have to pay a lot of money for it. Lu Lingling said that they had to buy a good car and she asked Beibei to choose a car for him for 2 million. The guy was very surprised to hear such huge amounts of money and couldn't believe his ears and froze in place for a while from shock. Lu Lingling asked the guy to keep quiet and said that if he didn't have enough money for a car, then she could add money to him. Yang Jun said that 2 million was too wasteful. Lu Lingling said that such a car would be due to his status. And at that moment Lin Huan said that she also wanted to buy herself a car. Lu Lingling was happy and now they could race together. The guy looked at the girls and wondered if this was the world of the rich and for them buying a car was a common thing. But suddenly, someone called Yang Jun. It was Lily and she said that they had not seen each other for a long time and did he really work as a car salesman? Yang Yiyun turned around and looked closely at his ex-girlfriend and said that he came there to buy a car. Lily laughed and asked if he could afford to buy any car given his income. The man next to Lily was dressed in classic expensive clothes and asked his dear who this guy was. Lily said that this rogue was her ex-boyfriend whom she told him about and he used to work in a bar. The man said that his name was Xie Ding and he was the head of the Human Resources Department of the Tianyang Investment Company and invited him to their wedding. Xie Ding told the guy that he couldn't afford any car in this life and would remain such a beggar all his life. Yang Jun noticed that for some reason the man had a whole stream of dirty energy in the hip area and it was very suspicious. Suddenly, Yang Yiyun told the man that he suffered from a disease of the genital organs and advised him to get examined by a doctor. But unexpectedly at this moment Xie Ding became very nervous and wondered how this guy managed to find out about his illness. Xie Ding told the guy that if he was so cool, he should come to his wedding in a luxury car with his girlfriend. Yang Jun said that he would definitely come to their wedding and wished the loving couple good luck in all their love affairs. The next day, the man brought Mr. Yang Jun the car he ordered yesterday and it was the newest model. Yang Yiyun thought that now he had a luxury car and now he was missing a girl and didn't know where he could look for her. And at this moment, Yang Jun's phone rang. It was Lu Lingling and she asked him to come to her home during his free time. The guy said that he didn't have time because yesterday his ex made fun of him and now he had to go to her wedding. Lu Lingling asked why he told her about his ex because it didn't matter and asked him to quickly come to her. Yang Jun wanted to talk to the girl but she ended the conversation and the guy got angry because she hung up on her again. After that, Yang Yiyun quickly came to the Lu family's country house and hoped that Lu Lingling would be adequate today. But suddenly at that moment Lu Lingling appeared in front of him with her friends in a chic dress and greeted the guy. The guy was very surprised by such a magnificent appearance of the girl and asked Lu Lingling what was happening there. Lu Lingling asked the guy to quickly go inside the house and said that they would help him take revenge on his ex-girlfriend. After that, a few minutes later they got into the car and the guy asked Lu Lingling if she could do this. Lu Lingling asked him not to say anything and she understood everything because he covered for her last time and now she would become his temporary girlfriend. Meanwhile, Lily and Xie Ding were preparing for the wedding and Xie Ding said that the vice president was supposed to come there and they couldn't neglect him. And at that moment a luxury car drove up there. Lily asked if it was the vice president but Xie Ding said that his car was simpler. The beautiful Lu Lingling got out of the car and all the guests thought who this beauty was because she was simply irresistible. Xie Ding was surprised and asked Lily who this girl was and did they invite her, but Lily had no idea about this girl. Xie Ding approached Lu Lingling and welcomed her to his wedding and asked if she was the daughter of some leader. And then suddenly Lily ran up to the man and started hurting him and asked the brat where he was staring. Lu Lingling asked her lover to hurry up and suddenly Yang Yiyun appeared in front of her and said that he was in a hurry to get there as best he could. Lily noticed an old acquaintance and could not believe that this rogue was dating such a beautiful and rich girl. Xie Ding asked Lily if the guy wasn't a beggar who came to work and Lily said that maybe the guy was putting on a show. Lily told Yang Jun that he really came there and Xie Ding told the guy that he really wanted to pretend to be a rich man. Lu Lingling told the man that he was talking nonsense and Yang Jun thought that the show was just beginning and it was great. Meanwhile, they sat down at the table and Lu Lingling said that the groom was still a male and his friend said that his ex was also a so-so. Lily said that the guy also had the nerve to sit there and her fiancé asked her to stop talking about him because everyone was guests. Xie Ding offered to drink to Yang Jun and also to those unknown girls who replaced his lovers. Yang Yiyun sipped his drinks and advised the grooms to talk less and if they dared to offend these ladies, he would teach them a lesson. The suitors started laughing and Xie Ding told the guy that he was still pretending and said that they had already seen through his deception. But unexpectedly at this moment, the vice president of the Tianyang company named Shang Qianjin burst into the wedding of Lily and Xie Ding. Xie Ding was very happy about this because he had been waiting for the arrival of the respected vice president since the very morning and he was the most welcome guest. Xie Ding approached Vice President Shang and said that he had finally arrived there and said that they had been waiting for his arrival. But unexpectedly, the vice president walked past Xie Ding and didn't even notice him. Xie Ding couldn't believe it because he was disgraced. And suddenly the vice president walked up to the girl and told Miss Lu that he did not expect to meet her there and besides, her friends were also there. The grooms watched all this and froze in surprise. They couldn't believe it and they were wondering who this girl was. But Lu Lingling did not recognize the man and Shang said that perhaps Miss Lu simply did not remember him and said that they had already met. Her father was the head of the Chamber of Commerce a year ago and they met her there and his name was Shang Qianjin and he worked in the Tianyang company. The man asked the girl who this young man was who was sitting next to her and she said that it was her boyfriend Yang Jun. But suddenly Shang was very surprised and asked if it was Mr. Ong Jun who developed the youth pills. The guy said that it was him and asked the girl how other people knew that he was the developer of the youth pill. Lu Lingling said that it was no secret and her father talked to influential people and they liked the effect of the pill and began to be interested in it. The girl asked the guy not to worry and said that everyone who knew him belonged to the upper class of society. The girl told the guy that no problem should have arisen and in the future it would, on the contrary, play into his hands. The guests discussed why the daughter of the Lu family would appear at such a small wedding because they were very influential. And besides, it was rumored that her boyfriend was the developer of the youth pill and this time Xie Ding was screwed because he offended him. Xie Ding listened to all the conversations of his guests and could not believe it and thought that it was impossible and he began to get even more nervous. Meanwhile, Vice President Shang Qianjin asked Yang Yiyun if they also came to Xie Ding's wedding and the guy agreed with him. And at this moment, unexpectedly, Shang Qianjin turned around and asked Xie Ding if he had just pushed Miss Lu aside and still had not apologized to her. And suddenly people started laughing and said that it was very impressive, and it looks like this time the vile Xie Ding jumped. People said that Xie Ding had offended the daughter of Lu Shanhai himself, and it seemed that now he would not be able to live peacefully in this city. People said that it was a complete disgrace, and if he had not been their boss, they would not have come to the wedding at all. Xie Ding told Yang Jun that just a month ago he was a beggar and now he has turned into the developer of the youth pill, and how was this possible? Xie Ding told the guy that he was definitely a swindler and he wanted to expose him and hit him, but he failed to do so. Yang Yun stood in front of Xie Ding and said now they were people from different worlds with nothing in common with each other. But suddenly at this moment some guy asked them to stop and said about the withdrawal of internal strength, and it seems that Yang Yun was a skilled fighter. The people present noticed the guy and wondered if it was that crazy fighter Han Xiaonan who was very famous. People said that this guy would miss the opportunity to fight, and now they realized that Yang Jun was very unlucky today. Han Xiaonan asked Xie Ding not to be afraid because as long as he was around, no one could offend him or mock him. Xie Ding asked Xiaonan to deal with this swindler and thought that if he took up the matter, Yang Yun would definitely be in trouble. Han Xiaonan said that naturally he would not miss this opportunity and would kill him in a couple of minutes, and he began to attack the guy. Yang Jun realized that this guy had enormous power and he asked him who he was and where he came from. The guy said that he was one of the few ancient martial artists and his name was Han Xiaonan and he was Xie Ding's brother. Yang Yun thought that this blow did almost no harm to him and apparently he was a practitioner, but he did not know anything about these masters. Han Xiaonan wondered why this guy didn't move, and at that moment Yang Yun asked if he could ask him one question. Han Xiaonan told the guy that there was no point in begging for mercy and he was obliged to restore his brother's good name. Yang Yun smiled and asked the guy who the martial artists were, because he really didn't know anything about it. Han Xiaonan got angry and asked if the guy really knew the art of fighting and didn't know about the ancient martial arts masters. Han said that the ancient masters were the direct descendants of the ancient military families of China who adhered to religious precepts. The guy said that surrounded by ancient martial arts masters there were also different directions and gradations. Mingjin was the lowest level, which was divided into 9 steps, and upon reaching the 9th step a person became a mentor. Han Xiaonan said that the profound strength at this level was terrifying, and with one blow they could destroy stones and break trees. After the Mingjin level there was Anjin, and it was very difficult. There was virtually no chance that the inner strength would survive such a huge change. Now Han Xiaonan was an ancient martial artist of the 5th stage of the Mingjin level, and it was time for him to beg for mercy. Yang Yun didn't know what level the ancient martial artists were, but it was just talk and he wanted to teach the guy a lesson in practice. And at that moment, Han Xiaonan pounced on the guy and began to beat him and asked him not to endure the beatings and to answer him with his own blow. Yang Jun thought that this guy had very good control of his legs, and a simple person could not withstand such strength. Han Xiaonan told the guy that if he didn't fight back, he would die very quickly and kicked him with all his might. Yang Yun crashed into the wall, and after that there was silence and Han Xiaonan said that there was nothing special about this guy. But suddenly Yang Jun appeared in front of Han and said that perhaps he understood the strength of their so-called ancient martial artists. Han asked the guy who he studied with because he didn't think that this guy didn't give him change just to measure his strength. Yang Jun said that he would not answer his questions and quickly ran up to the guy and hit him with the art of the 5 elements tiger. From such a strong blow, Han Xiaonan crashed into the wall and fell in the hall where the wedding was taking place, and all the people were shocked by this. After that, Yang Yun began to slowly walk there and told Xie Ding that he was using his own brother as a thug. Yang Yun told Uncle Xie Ding that he came up with a great idea, and by doing so he set up his own boyfriend and put him in danger. The guests started running from there and said that they didn't want to run into this guy and they regretted that they came to the wedding. Xie Ding was very surprised by this and wondered if he really managed to defeat his invincible brother Han Xiaonan. Yang Jun said that they themselves were the first to create huge problems for them and they could not expect politeness from him in return. Yang Yun asked the grooms to behave well now and told Lu Lingling that they could now leave this wedding. Lily told her dear that all the guests had left there and the banquet was ruined, and Xie Ding suddenly hit her and told her to get out of there. After these events, Yang Yun and Lu Lingling arrived in a beautiful area and the guy asked the girl why she wanted to climb the mountains with him. Lu Lingling told the guy that there was something wrong with him because he had only recently separated and immediately stopped doing this. Yang Jun said that he was completely bored and the girl asked if he really didn't feel any regret about this. Yang Jun said that now he was an unusual person and went to the wedding only to get rid of the obsession that was lurking in his heart. The guy thought that only by constantly becoming stronger could he take a higher and more significant place in this world. And this was the only way he could protect the people dear to him, and Yang Jun didn't care how difficult the path of cultivation was and he wanted to continue. Lu Lingling at this moment was thinking about how she felt how Yang Yiyun had changed and in other words he had become more courageous. The girl told Yang Jun that he had not yet finished his studies and the youth pill had already brought him a solid fortune, but she wanted him not to become arrogant. The guy said that he was from an ordinary family, so even if he reached heights, he would never despise anyone. Lu Lingling said that he thought very correctly and she believed him and said that the view from there was simply incredible. But at that very second, suddenly Lu Lingling said that she was going to study abroad in France where her older brother lived. The guy was happy for the girl and said that she was smart and then she looked at him and asked Yang Jun if he would miss her. And suddenly at that moment it started to rain and Yang Jun asked the girl to quickly get into the car and leave from there. But when Lu Lingling was running towards the car, she slipped and started to fall, but at the last second, Yang Yiyun managed to catch her. Yang Jun asked the girl if she was okay and the girl said that she twisted her ankle and could not move. Yang Yiyun told Lu Lingling that the girls were nothing but problems and he agreed to carry her in his arms to the car. Lu Lingling at that moment thought, was it really so difficult for Yang Yiyun to tell her that he would miss her? After that they drove from there and the girl told the guy that there was a hotel nearby and said that they were wet and had to go there. Yang Jun told the girl that it was a great idea and besides, in the hotel they could warm up and wait out this rain. Lu Lingling thought that the guy was stupid and innocent and that he didn't notice at all that she pretended to stumble. Meanwhile, they checked into a hotel and suddenly heard that someone was saying that they would call an ambulance. Yang Yiyun looked out of the window and thought that there seemed to be an accident there and he should have looked there. The girl asked him to be careful. Yang Yiyun noticed that the guy had an accident and the woman told the man that because of him, Zhongren was distracted because he was arguing with him. Yang Jun asked them what happened there and the woman asked the guy to help and said that her son had an accident and was stuck in the car. Yang Jun noticed that in addition to 3 fractures, the guy had internal blood circulation in his chest that blocked his trachea and it was dangerous. And after that, Yang Jun began to approach them and asked the woman to step aside and said that he could help save this guy. But unexpectedly at that moment the guy's father grabbed Yang Jun's hand tightly and asked the guy what he was really up to. Yang Yiyun froze in surprise and realized that this man had a very fierce spirit and it really frightened him. The woman asked Mushin to stop doing this because this guy looked like a good person and he had to try. The man let go of his hand and Yang Yiyun thought that he shouldn't have worried, he needed to focus on saving the guy. Yang Yiyun released his leg and thought that he should first use the 30 arm channels to deal with the blood stagnation. Yang Yiyun then used true qi to clear his airways and stop the bleeding in his body. After that, Yang Jun smiled at the guy's parents and said that now his life was not in danger and asked them to wait for the ambulance to arrive. Mushin asked for forgiveness for his rudeness because at first he did not understand that he was a doctor or then thanked the guy for his help. But unexpectedly, Yang Jun said that he was really like this because a fierce spirit lived in his body and his hands were stained with blood. The man told the guy that he did not expect that he not only mastered the art of healing but also had phenomenal vision. Yang Jun told the man that it was an honor for him to hear such a thing and asked how much blood was on his hands. Mushin said that he did not expect that at such a young age he had unique vision and was able to discern everything secret. The man smiled and said that his name was Wang Mushing and he served in the Chinese army and even once participated in the war. Yang Yiyun apologized to Mr. Wang for his tactlessness and said that his name was Yang Yiyun and he was a little older than his son. And at the time of their conversation, an ambulance arrived there and Mushin asked Mr. Yang to leave him his contact information. Mushin said that in the future he would definitely repay double the amount for saving his son and Yang Jun said that it was his responsibility. The doctors took the guy away and Yang Jun looked at it all and thought that Mushin had a powerful fierce spirit and he didn't know what war he was in. Yang Yiyun thought that in fact his father disappeared in the war and until now his whereabouts were unknown and he did not know whether he was alive. But the guy thought that he needed to train hard because he was a descendant of a deity and, having begun to develop, he would have the opportunity to learn about his father. And at that moment Lu Lingling came out there and the guy asked her why she went there and the girl said that she was just worried. And besides, the girl asked him a question on the mountain, which he still hasn't answered her, and she's been waiting for an answer from him all this time. Yang Yiyun began to remember this question and finally remembered that she asked him if he would miss her in her absence. Yang Jun smiled and hugged the girl and said that of course he would miss her, because friends should miss each other. Lu Lingling was very happy with this answer and asked the guy if he had even a drop of conscience giving such answers. Yang Yiyun thought that he seemed to have guessed what Lu Lingling wanted, but he had more important things to do right now. After that, in his cottage, the guy remembered that in a rented apartment he quickly changed his clothes and came there and left the Martin there and didn't know if she got used to it. Yang Jun thought that this cottage that Uncle Lu gave him was very good, he directly felt supernatural power there. And at that moment a Martin suddenly ran up to him and she was very glad to see her owner who saved her in a difficult situation. The guy used the vessel of the universe and filled this room with many berries and fruits. The Martin was very happy about this. The Martin, in a good mood, quickly ran to eat them and the guy asked her to slow down so as not to choke on the berries. Yang Jun thought that it was good that he had collected fruits and berries on Yaowang Mountain, otherwise it would not be easy for him to feed this glutton. And after that the guy sat down on the floor and sank into consciousness. He thought that there was no way to waste time and he had to train. To achieve maximum efficiency in comprehending the ancient technique that the teacher gave him, he needed to study it in the depths of his consciousness. The guy thought that although the ancient technique could be materialized through the vessel of the universe, it was impossible to understand its essence in the external environment. The guy thought that a new day had already come and it seemed that the art of the 5 elements was coming to an end, but he was far from the second level. The guy thought that even though he had recently founded a company making a lot of money on the youth pill, it wasn't easy to be a model son. Yang Yiyun still asked his friend Lu Shiji to find him a regular job so that his grandmother would not worry about him. After all, otherwise she would have thought he got involved in some shady dealings and that's why he earned so much money in an illegal way. Yang Yiyun took out his phone and looked at the location of this job and hoped that the interview would be successful today. After that, Yang Jun came to the Cultural Relics Department of the Kingdom of Zhao and the guy asked him if he was Mr. Yang whom Mr. Lu recommended to them. Yang Jun wanted to know who this guy was and he said that he was the manager of the Human Resources Department of the Cultural Relics Department. The guy said that Mr. Lu wanted to recommend him to the Cultural Relics Auction Department and did he have a certificate of completion of his studies? Yang Jun said that as an outstanding student of the Department of History and Archaeology, he was strong in assessing cultural relics. But suddenly the guy asked Yang Jun to stop doing this and asked if he didn't come there just using his connections. Yang Jun told the manager that he had no right to talk to him like that and his professional skills were indeed the best in this city. But the guy just smiled and asked if they really were the best in the world and Yang Jun thought that this man was deliberately finding fault. Yang Jun said that he had met many arrogant people like him who were just empty talkers and could not answer for their words. The guy said that he heard that Lu Shiji opened his own company and with such a friend his company would go bankrupt sooner or later. But unexpectedly hearing these words, Yang Yiyun slowly walked up to the guy and put his hand on the wall and suddenly he managed to crack the wall. The guy was in shock and couldn't believe that Yang Yiyun really broke through the wall and what kind of superhuman force it was and what he was doing there. Yang Jun told the guy that he could say whatever he wanted about him, but making satirical remarks to him would get him into trouble. The guy said that he had worked there for so many years and who he had never met and asked Yang Jun if he really thought that he had scared him. The guy thought that he just wanted to intimidate this guy, but he didn't think that he would be such a daring guy. The guy looked carefully at Yang Jun and thought that until that moment no one had communicated with him and he really liked him. But suddenly a girl appeared in front of Yang Yiyun and he wondered if it was Zhao Nan who saved him then in the park. But suddenly the girl noticed the guy and said was it really Yang Yiyun and the guy asked Miss Zhao if she really remembered him. Zhao Nan said that how could she forget about him because he saved her dog then and of course she remembered such a guy. The guy watched this and was shocked that this Yang Jun and President Zhao had such a good relationship. The guy thought that he needed to act faster and he asked Miss Zhao what kind of relationship she had with this guy. And at that moment, Yang Yiyun thought that Zhao Nan was really the president of such a huge company as the Zhao Kingdom. Zhao said that she and Mr. Yang were friends and asked manager Mei what she and Yang were doing there. Yang Jun wanted to tell the girl everything, but Mei beat him to it and said that this guy had come to visit him. Zhao Nan apologized to them for disturbing her and thought that she never expected that Yang Yiyun had such addictions. At this moment, Yang Yiyun became very nervous and told Zhao Nan that it was a misunderstanding and she had completely misunderstood everything. Zhao Nan wanted to leave there, but Yang Yiyun got angry and said that he really came there to get a job. Miss Zhao apologized to Yang Yiyun for this misunderstanding and said that he had certain skills, which is why Mei was interested in him. The girl said that sometimes fate was very surprising because she did not expect that the benefactor who recently saved her dog would work in her company. The guy remembered that he did not introduce himself to President Zhao and said that he was a history student and was quite good at appreciating cultural relics. Zhao Nan also introduced herself and said that she was confident in him and said that she would now instruct the secretary to draw up a schedule for him. But suddenly at that moment someone knocked on the door and Zhao Nan ordered the person to enter the room and talk to her. A suspicious cleaner entered the room and asked the president to clean the room, but the girl asked him to come back later. The cleaner said that he always cleaned at this time. Zhao asked if he really wanted to lose his job and told him to get out of there. And at that moment, the janitor suddenly took out a knife and ran towards Zhao and said that it was because of her that he had not had work for a long time. Zhao Nan remembered that this man's name was Chu Mo and suddenly Yang Yiyun grabbed his knife and asked if no one had noticed him. All the people present in the room froze in surprise and could not believe that Yang Jun caught the knife with his fingers. And immediately after that, Yang Yiyun dealt a powerful blow to this man and slammed the attacking man into the wall. Chu Mo told Zhao Nan that because of her he lost his job and therefore now could not pay back the debts for the games and would not let her leave. And at that moment, an employee entered the room and asked President Zhao what happened there because she heard strange sounds. Zhao Nan asked a girl named Ai Yi to call the police quickly and said that she was being attacked and fortunately Mr. Yang protected her. The employee was horrified to hear such news and said that she would immediately call the police so that this scoundrel would get what he deserved. Mei did not expect that Yang Yiyun was proficient in martial arts and yet his appearance was deceiving and he hoped that the guy was not vindictive. After this, Yang Yiyun approached President Zhao and said that it seemed they knew the attacker and asked what happened. Zhao said that when she first headed the company, she fired a lot of slackers who only took up positions. Zhao said that they also played cards and other gambling during lunch break and therefore she had many enemies. Yang Yiyun said that he thought that President Zhao did the right thing with them and she was not more like a queen. Zhao Nan was very happy to hear such words addressed to her and told the guy that he was still joking with her. Yan Jun said that he would wait with all matters considering that he had accomplices and asked to accompany her home. Zhao Nan said that next time she would invite him to dinner as a thank you, but the guy said that she already saved him once. They went outside and Zhao Nan said that actually he also saved her dog and first she had to invite him and then he would invite her. They went down to the parking lot and then approached a luxury car and the guy said that it was his car. Zhao was very surprised by this because a little over a month ago he was barely making ends meet. Where did he get such a luxurious car? Moreover, when he saved her, he grabbed the tip of the knife with 2 fingers, and Yang Jun must have been an ancient martial arts master. After that, the girl said goodbye to the guy because he still had to be on time for graduation and did not need to see her off. Yang Jun finally asked the girl not to forget about tomorrow's dinner because it was very important to him and he was waiting for this day. The guy thought that anything could happen in this world because he did not expect that he would meet Zhao and become her subordinate. But suddenly at that moment a guy appeared in front of him and said that his name was Yang Linya and he was leaving for an internship and did he remember him. Linya said that he had just seen him escorting some beauty and said that now he was popular among the girls. Yang Jun said that it was not a success and that this woman was his boss and told the guy that he could give him a lift. Yang Jun showed his car and the guy couldn't believe his eyes because it was very unexpected and strange. Linya heard that things weren't going well for Yang Jun, but the guy didn't expect that he had sunk into selling spinach. But unexpectedly at that moment, Yang Yiyun drove up to him in a luxury car and asked the guy to get into the car. Linya thought that now Yang Jun was working as a driver and it was not easy for him to transport his boss from work to her home. Meanwhile, the guy was sitting in a Shanghai restaurant and telling all the guests that several scoundrels had gathered in front of him. And at that moment he shouted to the scoundrels that his father was Chao Gang, and after these words the scoundrels got very scared and ran away from there. The guy looked at Lu Lingling and thought that this act could attract the attention of his goddess Lu Lingling. And at that moment Yang Yiyun came there, and Lu Lingling was very happy and said that she had been waiting for his arrival all evening. The guy looked at the happy girl and got very angry from this and thought about who could attract the attention of his goddess. Yang Yiyun immediately apologized to everyone and said that he had some business and that was the only reason he was late for the meeting. But suddenly people came up to him and said that they did not expect that he was so intractable and secretly opened an entire company. People asked Yang Jun that he really dated the beautiful Lu Lingling, and was it really his luxury car at the entrance? All the people admired him and said that a dazzling light emanated from Yang Jun, as if he were a hero of a novel. But suddenly Linya walked in and told everyone that Yang Yiyun was just a driver and he had just seen him picking up the boss from work. And suddenly the guy got up from his seat and asked Yang Jun how such a loser from the village could drive an expensive car and manage an entire company. And at that moment, all the people's opinions changed and they said that Chao Jun said everything correctly and this guy was a deceiver. Chao Ren smiled at the guy and wondered if this poor guy really wanted to show off in front of him and his goddess. Lu Lingling told Chao Jun that she was with Yang Yiyun when he bought the car and was also a shareholder of the company. All the people were very surprised by the girl's words and wondered if all this guy's words were true and he owned a huge business. And at that moment, Lu Lingling walked up to Yang Yiyun and hugged him and said that he really was her boyfriend and she loved him very much. Chao Ren froze in surprise and his heart instantly broke and he wondered if his beautiful goddess was really a guy. Yang Jun told the girl that now there was no need to pretend to be a couple, and the girl said that she would not let him be offended. And at that very second, all the people ran to the guy and asked Yang Jun if there were any vacancies left in his company and asked to borrow a car. After the banquet, everyone went outside and Yang Yiyun told Lu Lingling that she was leaving tomorrow and asked him to take her home. Lu Lingling thanked the guy and said that Lin Huan also came by car and they wanted to arrange the second act of the banquet with her friend. Yang Yiyun asked her to take care of herself and thanked her and her family for taking care of him all the time and helping him. And at that moment Lin Huan signaled to her and Yang Yiyun said that it seemed that her friend could no longer wait for her and wanted to run away from there. Lu Lingling said goodbye to the guy and said that she would never forget him and they would definitely see each other again and have fun together. Lu Lingling wanted to move quickly and she was wondering if Anya was flirting with the blonde-haired, blue-eyed handsome guy there. Yang Yiyun hoped that everything would be okay with her abroad, and Lu Lingling wanted her beloved boyfriend to remember her. After that, Yang Yiyun was about to drive home by car, but suddenly a woman jumped out in front of him and asked him to stop. Yang Yiyun recognized this woman and was surprised what teacher Ouyang Yuqing was doing there, and it seemed to him that something had happened. The guy used the art of the 5 elements called Tiger Whisper and wondered if someone was threatening the teacher. After the conversation, the teacher caught a taxi and asked the taxi driver to take her to the Yusun quarter and preferably quickly. Meanwhile, Ouyang Yuqing's ex-husband named Wang Ming wondered why this stinking dog had not arrived yet. And at that moment the teacher knocked on the door and the man asked why she arrived so late and if she brought him money. The woman approached the man and said that there were 20,000 on her card and he could take all the money but tell him where Lele is. The man said that this money was not enough because they agreed on 50,000 because he had recently lost a lot of money. The man said that in addition to this, he bought bread and noodles every day for this sucker and he really needed money. The woman told Wang Ming that he was a monster and did he really feed Lele every day with only bread, and said that she no longer had money. The woman said that over the past 2 years he took more than 100,000 from her and even the house belonged to him, and asked to return Lele. After these words, Wang Ming slowly approached the woman and hugged her and said that 20,000 could also be enough. The man said that he lost everything completely and didn't even relax for a whole week, and that's why he was so nervous. The man told the woman that if she could help him relax, he would tell her where she could meet Lele. The woman hit him on the hand and asked if he had completely lost his shame and asked him not to even think about such dirty things. But the man grabbed her hand and asked her not to forget that he had the right to guardianship of Lele and also her rights belonged to him. The man told Ouyang Yuqing that he could make sure she never saw her. The woman told Wang Ming that he was a brute. Suddenly, at that moment, Yang Iyun burst in with a roar and, hitting the man, asked what he was thinking and was he a scoundrel? Yang Iyun told the teacher that she took care of him at the university and asked her not to worry and said that this man will pay for everything. But suddenly the teacher quickly ran up to him and grabbed him and asked him not to kill her ex-husband Wang Ming. The guy was very surprised and asked the woman if she was really going to defend this bastard because he didn't deserve it. The woman said that even though he was a disgusting person, he couldn't finish him off and asked the guy to quickly leave there. Wang Ming said that he had long guessed that this dog was dating a young guy and the poet wanted to divorce him. Yang Iyun immediately walked up to Wang Ming and grabbed him by the throat and asked him why he was saying such nasty things about a woman. But unexpectedly after that, Wang Ming fell to the floor and showed no signs of life. The woman asked Yang Jun if he was done with him. The guy asked the teacher not to worry or be afraid and said that he was not done with him, but that he was just passed out. The teacher thanked Yang Jun and said that if he had not arrived to her on time, she didn't even know what could have happened to her. Yang Jun told the teacher that everything was fine and asked her to calm down and call the police there. The woman asked if his name was Yang Iyun and asked him to contact her if he had any questions. Yang Iyun remembered that when he first entered the university, because of his family's poor situation, Yang Yuqing always took care of him. But suddenly the teacher became thoughtful and asked the guy how he ended up there and how he managed to find the location of this house. The guy thought that under no circumstances should he have told her that he was following her, and suddenly the woman hit him in the face. The guy told the woman that he wanted to go to visit a friend and quite by chance saw her enter this house. The woman agreed with his answer and the guy finally calmed down and thought that he had finally managed to find a good version. And at that moment the police arrived there and said that they had received a message about the incident and asked her what happened there. The woman was surprised who could call the police because Yang Jun injured a man and they could arrest him for such actions. The police listened to the woman's story that she herself rebuffed her ex-husband and said that there would be no criminal liability. The woman was very happy about this news and hugged Yang Jun and said that it was wonderful and they were now free. The policeman said that they were called by a girl named Lele and she was also now at the police station and she could pick her up. At the same time, at the police station, the police asked Lele if her mother would come and she said that she was supposed to be there soon. After this incident, the teacher was driving in the car with Yang Jun and the guy asked how it all came to this. Yang Iyun asked her questions and asked why she didn't go to the police since Wang Ming treated her like that, and the woman said that it lasted for several years. The woman said that they met him through the fault of their parents, because at that time Wang Ming's family was engaged in business and she was married off. But it soon turned out that Wang Ming was a gambler and lost all the family money and his character became tough and he beat her. The woman said that after the divorce they sued him but gave the child to him and she was shocked by this verdict. Subsequently, he often extorted money from her using the child and threatened that she might never see Lele again. Yang Iyun asked the woman not to worry and said that he would repay her for her concern and no one else would dare to cause her problems. After that they arrived at the police station and the policeman said that the girl who called them was inside. The woman saw her daughter and immediately hugged her with all her might and asked how she felt and how she got there. Lele told her mother that she immediately took advantage of the fact that her father was not at home and she secretly ran away from there. The girl heard about how he called her mother and at that moment she realized that he was going to look for her again, so she came there. The police said that her husband was involved in selling drugs and that he would face severe punishment in the near future. The woman thanked the police and said that they were doing a good deed and the policeman said that it was just his job. The woman promised her daughter that when they returned home she would cook her the most delicious dishes and the girl was happy about it. The woman asked Yang Jun to go with them and said that this was gratitude and he agreed with her proposal. The woman began to cook a lot of delicious dishes for the guy and the guy couldn't believe that he had come home to his teacher. Lele watched the guy's behavior with surprise and asked if the guy really liked her mother, because it looked like he adored her. The woman was very surprised by her daughter's words and asked what she said, because he was only her former student. Yang Iyun smiled and told the teacher that everything was fine because the child could not be blamed for her words. Meanwhile, Yang Iyun continued to sit at home Yang Yuqing and looked at her daughter carefully and thought what was wrong with this child. After this, the woman said that the food was ready and there was a lot of food there and the woman said that she had to show her student her skills. Yang Jun did not expect that in everyday life the teacher looked no worse than pop stars and was very beautiful. Everyone was sitting at the table and suddenly Lele asked her mother if this guy was there to become her new dad. The woman was very surprised by such words she heard and asked her daughter what kind of nonsense she was saying, and she needed to be polite. Lele said that this guy saved her and that's why she wanted him to become her new dad, because Yang Jun was a good guy. The woman said that Lele was a simple-minded girl and asked him not to take the words she said seriously. The next day, Yang Yun was sitting in the Zhao Kingdom Corporation and he couldn't get the girl's words about her dad out of his head. And suddenly Zhao Nan came up to him and said that the workday was already over and why did he look like he was not himself. Yang Yun smiled and told the girl that everything was fine, he just had insomnia yesterday and that's why he didn't get enough sleep. Zhao asked the guy to go somewhere. The guy was surprised and asked where they were going to go, and the girl said that she rarely invited someone to dinner. Yang Yun said that he almost forgot about it because if the beautiful CEO invited him to dinner, how could he refuse her? Zhao Nan said that if next time he forgets about it again, she will never invite him anywhere again in her life. But when they went outside, suddenly Yi Kai from the famous Yi family in Beijing appeared in front of them. He was a martial arts master and told Zhao that she had finally come out. Yi Kai approached the girl and said that if he were next to her, then together they could achieve much greater results. But they didn't notice him and Zhao asked Yang Yun what he wanted to eat and the guy said that they could order Japanese cuisine. But suddenly a man stood in front of them and said that the young master wanted to do something to them and they should listen. Yang Yun asked who these two chatty people were and the girl said that they were people from the Yi family and asked not to pay attention to them. Yi Kai at the same time told Nan that he understood that she could not accept it so easily and therefore, in a fit of anger, she fled to this poor place. The guy said that it didn't matter to him whether she was annoyed with him or not because they would have gotten married anyway and asked her to return to Beijing. Zhao Nan got angry and told the guy that there could be no wedding and it was her decision to return to Beijing or not. Yi Kai told the girl that he did not have time for games and if she did not agree to return with him then he wanted to take her by force. Zhao Nan looked at the guy menacingly and said that she would repeat it again and said that they could not be together and asked him not to bother her. But suddenly Yi Kai ordered his man named Lao Mo to immediately grab the girl and Lao Mo immediately rushed to her. Lao Mo wanted to grab her but Yang Yun grabbed her hand and said that this girl was his boss and he couldn't let them take her away. Yang Jun said that the safety of his boss was his first priority and many employees would be concerned about its absence. Yi Kai listened to the guy and ordered Lao Mo to immediately break the legs of this kid who considered himself the coolest in the world. The man immediately rushed to them and told the young people that they had to understand the situation and adapt to it. And at that moment, Lao Mo and Yang Jun clashed their fists and Yang Jun realized that the man had deep inner strength and Lao Mo felt the strength of the guy. Lao Mo jumped aside and said that he did not expect that Yang Yun was also an ancient martial artist and was very strong. Yang Jun told the man that he said everything correctly and he was improving and learning different techniques little by little. Yang Yun realized that Lao Mo's inner strength was more powerful than Han Xiaonan's and wondered if he was a 7th or 8th stage master. Yi Kai said that he did not think that there was a master above the 7th stage of the Mingjin level in this city and apparently he would have to deal with him himself. Yi Kai said that most of all he hated idiots who loved to show off and pretend to be heroes and he would erase him from this earth. Yi Kai asked the boy to wait and said that he would make him regret everything and forbade Lao Mo to interfere in their fight. Zhao Nan asked Yang Yun to be extremely careful because Yi Kai was at the peak of the Mingjin level and was very strong. The guys clashed their fists and Yi Kai used a skill called Superior Palm and Yang Jun realized that this guy was very fast. But Yang Yun used the 5-element art skill called Gibbon Fist and Yi Kai was very surprised because he had never seen such a technique before. But suddenly Yi Kai grabbed Yang Yun's hand and hit him in the stomach with a strong blow and said that there was no need to be overconfident. But suddenly Yang Yun screamed and Yi Kai flew to the side and wondered if the guy's inner strength had burst out. Yang Yun said that he underestimated him because who would have thought that Yi Kai would force him to spew out true chi to increase the distance between them. And at that very second, Yang Yun dealt a powerful blow to Yi Kai's face and said that Kai was able to reach this level and it was not bad. Yang Yun continued to beat Yi Kai into 1 wicket and at the end of their battle, Ong dealt the final blow and the guy crashed into his car. Ye Kai received severe injuries and asked to end his life, otherwise he would then take revenge on him and make him regret it. Yang Jun said that they lived in a legal society and said that if he bothers his boss again, he will deal with him again. Ye Kai told the guy that he remembered that his name was Yang Jun and he considered himself the bravest and said that he now remembered him. Yang Jun did not think that there were ancient masters left on earth who practiced various techniques, and he did not rule out that there were stronger masters. After that, Yang Yun sat and concentrated his energy, and the teacher called him a useless creature because the insignificant master made him sweat. Yang Jun said that the families of the ancient masters were powerful and rich and asked him to tell how he could reach the second level of the period. The teacher said that he only gifted him with the art of the 5 elements, but there were hundreds of practice methods and everything depended on him. The teacher said that when he entered the world of cultivation, he destroyed a huge number of dynasties of practitioners. The teacher said that this meant the existence of one moment representing the moment that kills deities and demons. Yuntian she said that flying through the sky and going underground, flying through time and pursuing it was an immutable law of heaven. Yang Jun listened to him carefully and said that now there was only a wandering spirit left that was not only stuck in the jug but also could not get out of there. Yang Yun said that he would now go and apologize and tell everyone that his teacher was no match for the masters of ancient martial arts and therefore gave up. But Yuntian asked him to wait and said that he would teach him and asked him to first take 500-year-old ginseng and add python gallbladder to it. Master said that these pure aura ingredients should allow him to break through to the second level of the cultivation period. Yang Jun said that it left his unburied corpse in the wasteland. The teacher said it meant a lot to him. The teacher said that the vessel of the universe automatically absorbed valuable things and the gallbladder should have been in it. And then the guy realized that it was not surprising that the star soul flower and ginseng were absorbed before he touched them. Yuntian said that it was still possible to make an immortality pill and finally asked not to bother him about all sorts of trifles. And at that moment, Yuntian she disappeared from there and left a book in front of the guy. Yang Jun wondered if the teacher had left him the equipment. Yang Jun opened the book and thought that when the threshold of the second level was reached, he could use a technique called healthy start dashing. Even though it was the lowest level of technology for making an immortality pill, it was enough to use this fire that nothing can stop. And besides, as the practice and the spiritual power of the practitioner himself strengthened, the power of the flame should have increased. Yang Yun carefully studied this book and thought that he first needed to move to the next level and then learn the techniques. And in fact, the gallbladder was stored in a vessel, which made it more convenient in the future to search for and store precious treasures. And at that moment, Yang Yun tasted ginseng and thought that it was an incomparable and stunning taste. Yang Yun felt the divine spirit of heaven and earth residing in the gallbladder and ginseng, which were rapidly spreading throughout his body. And after so much effort and many months of training, the second level of the qi cultivation period was finally achieved. And at that moment the guy immediately felt that his body was full of strength and he really liked it and he achieved the desired result. Yang Yun suddenly remembered that he had agreed to eat with Wang Mushan today and he wanted to take his friend Lu Shiji with him. The guy called his friend and asked if he would go with him to a friendly dinner in the evening and said that it would be interesting there. Lu Shiji asked what dinner he was talking about and said that the permit to make his Guyuan drink had stalled somewhere and he didn't have time to eat. Yang Jun said that he recently met an authority figure from military circles, but making friends with him was not so easy. Hearing this news, Lu Shiji said that he would definitely come there and Yang Yun said that he already knew that he would not refuse. Meanwhile, Mushan asked his dear to follow the rules of etiquette when Yang Jun comes there and not to disappoint the guest. And at that very second, Yang Yun and Lu Shiji entered there and asked them for forgiveness for being a little late and said that there were traffic jams on the street. Mushan said that they were just on time and that, on the contrary, they arrived there ahead of time and asked them to sit down. But suddenly Mushan looked closely at Lu Shiji and asked Yang Yun who this guy was because he had not seen him before. Lu Shiji greeted the man and called him Commander-in-Chief and said that he was a childhood friend of Yang Jun and his name was Lu Shiji. Mushan asked Lu Shiji if he really knew his boyfriend said that he retired 3 years ago and before that he often saw his interpretation of military intelligence and was his fan. Mushan smiled and asked Lu Shiji to sit down. Yang Yun thought that he did not expect that Wang Musheng was such a tough official. Wang Mushing said that he saved his son Zhongren and that's why he wanted to call him Jun so he could call him his uncle. Wang Mushing asked Yang Jun how many people his family consisted of and where he was from because he was very interested to know about it. Yang Jun said that his father was also a soldier but disappeared 10 years ago, and his grandmother and younger sister remained in Shanyang village. Wang Mushing was very surprised to hear about Shanyang village and asked what his father's name was. Yang Jun said that his father's name was Yang Guizhong. And then suddenly the entire Wang Mushing family became nervous and wondered if it was really about his elder brother Yang Guizhong. And at that moment, Wang Mushing began to take out a photo from his pocket and asked Yang Yiyun if he recognized this person. He took out a photograph and said that it was his father, and Mushing looked at the guy and realized that they were really similar. Yang Yiyun was very surprised and asked the man where he got a photo of his father, and it was exactly the same as the one he had at home. Wang Mushing told the guy that he and his father were military friends to death and always helped each other. Wang Mushing said that during one border mission in the desert, they were faced with an incredibly critical moment. The man said that then his father diverted the firepower of the enemy and thereby accomplished a feat and saved the entire team. But suddenly his platoon disappeared following a sandstorm that began at the most unexpected moment and took them by surprise. Mushing said that if it were not for Yang Guizhong, he would not be there today, and said that from now on Yang Jun was his son. Mushing's wife asked Yang Yiyun what he was doing now and if they could help him with anything financially. Yang Yiyun told Aunt Li that he and Shiji recently set up a health product company but encountered difficulties. Yang Yiyun said that the Guyuan drink unexpectedly did not receive permission to manufacture, and Mushing wondered if it was really their drink. Mushing said that he and his wife tried their Guyuan and they really liked it, and besides, it had no side effects, and he said that it would solve this problem. And then a message came to Yang Jun and he thought, was it really young Master Ma? And it seems that a villain was discovered behind the scenes who did not approve of the drink. At night, Ma Xiaolu was sitting in the club and he told Yang Yiyun that he was also from a family of martial artists and recently he had been active and beat up Ye Kai. Ma Xiaolu said that in addition, their family's doctor discovered that his drink Guyuan contained a component of Xiaopei and he offered to set a price for this formula. Yang Yiyun thought that in Guyuan there was a Guyuan pill diluted several times and he said that the final price was 10 billion. Ma Xiaolu said that if he did not have sincere thoughts then he should not be offended by him and ordered his people to teach this guy a lesson. Yang Yiyun felt that Ma Xiaolu had strong qi and blood and was no worse than Ye Kai and Lao Mo, and he was about to have a fierce fight. But unexpectedly, Yang Yiyun quickly dealt with them and realized that after moving to the second level, masters of the Mingjin level seemed weak to him. Ma Xiaolu said that the boy turned out to be an ancient martial artist above the Mingjin level but asked him not to relax. Ma Xiaolu said that he had a sister and a grandmother, but suddenly Yang Yiyun grabbed the guy by the throat and asked what he wanted to do with them. The guy began to cry and began to ask for forgiveness and told Yang Jun that he was mistaken and said it thoughtlessly and did not want to harm them. Yang Jun said that if he even lays a finger on them, he will immediately raise his entire family to the ground and take revenge on them to death. After these events, the man asked Xiao Liuzi not to worry about Xiaopei's recipe and said that the Wang family had already taken up this matter. Ma Xiaolu said that initially he did not want to open his hands, but the guy himself insisted on it and then he hit him with his right. Ma Xiaolu said that according to all the traditions of Kung Fu, he was going to hit him in the nose, but he unexpectedly attacked him and he was carelessly unable to dodge. The man thought that 3 people could not defeat one guy, and perhaps this Yang Jun had already reached the Anjin level. Ma Xiaolu told his great-grandfather that he did not accept defeat, and besides, the Wang family did not have the strength of masters of ancient martial arts. The man said that the guy knew nothing and the father of the Wang family led the secret imperial group of China and was powerful. The man said that, besides, as long as Father Wang was alive, they would not be able to do anything to them because they were much stronger than them. Ma Xiaolu thought and said that if Yang Yiyun was a person of the Wang family, then did he really fight with him for so long in vain? The man said that he was definitely a member of the Wang family and asked him to spread the news that he had the Xiaopei pill. And immediately after leaving, Ma Xiaolu asked some guy to come down to him and said that he heard everything and did he know what needed to be done. The guy grinned and said that as long as there was money, their organization of bone flower killers would never disappoint him. Meanwhile, Yang Yiyun was driving his car and thought that although Ma Xiaolu had given him a promise not to fight him, he needed to check on him. And at that moment he received a message from Uncle Wang and he resolved the issue with permission. The guy thought Uncle Van was cool. Yang Yiyun came to the county of Gu City and thought that everything had changed a lot there because he had not come to this area for a long time. Yang Jun thought that a lot of old houses were converted into ordinary high-rise buildings and he was a historian and couldn't look at it. But suddenly a girl appeared in front of him and asked if he wanted to get a massage because there were a lot of beautiful girls there. The guy thanked the girl for such an offer and said that he was very busy and had urgent matters. But suddenly the girl ran up to him and pressed his vital points and said that until now no one had dared to reject her. The guy was in a lot of pain and thought that this technique was very similar to a skill called Channels of 13 Hands. Yang Yiyun immediately turned around and grabbed the girl's hand and told her to answer his question and asked where she learned this technique. The girl said that the owner of Qi taught him this and the Beima Massage Center, which was located nearby, was his property. And at that moment, a tall man who was the very master of Qi suddenly approached them and asked Cui Hua what she was doing there. The man told Yang Jun that he also seemed to be familiar with Chinese medicine and asked for forgiveness for Cui Hua and said that his name was Chen Qibian. The guy said that his name was Yang Jun and he knew a little about the art of healing and he had business and wanted to leave them. Chen Qibian finally told the guy that he did not expect that Yang Yiyun was the creator of the famous Xiaopei Yuandan pill. Yang Yiyun asked the man what he was talking about because he didn't know anything about this pill, but suddenly the man wanted to attack him. Yang Yiyun grabbed his weapon and told Uncle Chen that if he wanted to suddenly attack him, then he should not have spoken politely to him. The man said that he did not need help and he only asked to enlighten him and thought that he really was an ancient master. Yang Jun began to attack the man and asked him not to blame him for not controlling himself because he forced him to do it. Yang Yiyun squeezed Chen Qibian's weapon with his foot and he thought that he had the strength at the peak of the Mingjin stage and could not cope with it. Chen Qibian thought that the guy was very young and had already achieved the strength of a martial artist at the Anjin level and it was incredible. The man said that the fame of Mr. Yang's strength was not spread in vain, and he admitted defeat and thanked him for enlightening him. Yang Jun told the man that there was no point in thanking him and said that if there was nothing else to do then he should have left there. Chen Qibian asked him to wait and asked him to do a favor and take him as his disciple and he would never let him down. Yang Jun immediately told the man that he had a good whip technique, but unfortunately he almost lacked inner strength. Chen Qibian said that the gentleman had a keen eye and said that during wartime his ancestor died, so he only had part of the equipment preserved. The other part was completely lost and for this reason his inner strength really could not develop to its full potential. Yang Jun thought that this man had a good character and he thought that it would be good if he could help him improve. But suddenly Chen Qibian bowed down and said that he had been stuck at the peak of the Mingjin level for 10 years and could not move to the Anjin level. The man said that Yang Yiyun had already reached the Anjin level at such a young age and asked the guy to show him the way. Chen Qibian said that as soon as he achieves what he wants, he will work for him like an ox and the guy agreed to help him. The man was very surprised because the guy said this very naturally and even the greatest clan of Beijing would not have dared to do so. But Yang Jun thought about it and said that he had one condition and the man was very surprised by this and asked what this condition was. Chen thought that he knew that all this was not easy and wondered if he would force him to sign an agreement and sell his kidney. Yang Yiyun said that he had offended the Ma family and now he was worried about the safety of his family and wanted someone to protect them. The guy said that if he agreed to help him, then he was ready to write for him right now a complete method for improving martial arts. Chen Qibian agreed and thought that in front of him was an exemplary master because he was powerful, but at the same time he thought about his family. Yang Yiyun told brother Chen that everyone was a winner there and now he would write a technique for him, but one of them could not be passed on to anyone. Chen Qibian said that from now on he will follow his master everywhere and will never betray him and will always come to his aid. Yang Jun asked him to remember that in 3 days they were supposed to meet in Shanyang village in the courtyard of the Yang family so that he could pass on the techniques to him. After that, Yang Jun continued to go about his business and met his friend Uncle San along the way and he was glad that the guy returned. Yang Yiyun told Aunt Lu that he had returned and she said that he had matured and she knew that he would come to visit them. After a long journey, Yang Yiyun finally met his grandmother and told her that he had returned. Grandma was shocked to see him. The grandmother was very happy to see her beloved grandson and said that he had finally come to visit his grandmother. Grandma said that she was just thinking about him with Shan yesterday and didn't expect that he would suddenly show up there today. After that, his grandmother called him to dinner and Yang Jun noticed rheumatic pain in her knees and senile farsightedness. The guy thought that since heaven had rewarded him with such skills, he had to help his grandmother and sister and make new pills. Grandma said that his sister was probably in the room doing her homework right now because she entered the same institute as him. The guy said that he would go to her and the grandmother asked them not to worry about anything because recently her sister often remembered him. Yang Yun asked his sister if she was doing her homework and when he went into her room he noticed that she was standing and just taking pictures. The guy immediately closed the door and Yang Shanshan shouted at her brother and said that he should have knocked before going in there. Meanwhile, dinner was ready and they sat at the table. Grandmother asked Yang Jun to go with her to the mountains to worship the gods. Yang Yun told Grandma that she was not in very good health right now and therefore asked her to stay home and rest. The guy said that he and his sister would go there and Yang Shanshan said that she also didn't really want to go there with him. The grandmother got angry and told her granddaughter that her father still had not returned and she had to go up the mountain and pray for him. The guy thought that many years had passed and his grandmother still believed that his father had not died and always missed him very much. After that, they all began to climb the mountain together and Yang Jun told his grandmother that he and Lu Shiji founded a company in the city of Gudu. And his sister went to university in this city and he said that he had a house and asked them to move to live with him in the city. The grandmother asked her grandson if he was doing bad things and where he got the money to open a company and buy a house. Yang Yun told his sister that she grew up with him and did not believe him and said that they really produced health products. The girl said that she believed her brother and the guy said that now everything was fine with him and it would be more convenient for him to take care of them there. Grandma asked what they did with this land then, and besides, she had many friends and she would have been bored in the city. Yang Yun said that he and Shanshan would be there with her and if anything he could always bring her back to visit everyone there. And suddenly at that moment, Yang Yun felt a strong presence of supernatural power and wondered what was in this temple. And at that moment, Yang Yun stopped and asked them to go to the temple first and said that he needed to do something quickly. The guy went to where the energy came from and thought that it was a strong feeling and he was wondering what it could be. Yang Yun thought that he first needed to dig up this place, but suddenly Yun Tianxi appeared in front of him and said that it was an ancient fairy. The guy asked the master to stop appearing like that and the master said that it seemed that there was also a world of cultivation there and there were strong practices there. Yang Yun thought that he had often heard from his grandmother the myths and legends about Helong Mountain and Jiutian Temple, but were they really true? The teacher said that it seemed like it was a magic pill furnace and it could cause a bloody storm so he asked to remove it. Yang Jun agreed with the teacher and thought that if he had not become a practitioner, he would not even know how many treasures he missed. They prayed with the whole family and after that Yang Yun returned home and sat and looked at the object and wondered if it really was a fairy. He realized that such immortal artifacts needed to be improved with drops of blood and tempered with the true essence of fire. Yang Yun added a drop of blood and thought that he had to try it first and found the reason for Yuan Lihua's true skill. The guy directed this fire at this artifact and suddenly it instantly increased in size and became a little larger. The guy thought that there were also some lines on the pill stove and when he read everything, inexplicable things began to happen. The guy was very happy with the result and said that everything was ready and now he couldn't wait to do alchemy. The main medicinal material of the Good Luck Life pill was ginseng and it served as a mediator for the health of the human body. The guy added ginseng and other herbs and thought that this furnace was worthy of being an immortal weapon level pill furnace. During the creation process, Yang Yun vaguely felt that the spiritual energy around him was completely absorbed by the furnace. The guy did not expect this and the speed of extracting essence from medicinal materials was incredibly fast. Yang Yun looked at the stove and realized that the Good Luck and Health pill was ready and it was also of incredibly high quality. The pill was created according to the standards of practice, so he didn't know if it could be given to mortals. Yang Jun decided to first try the pill himself to make sure there were no side effects. This was pure aura and his power was so powerful that he could only use it when creating a connection with universal luck. The guy realized that she stank and it seemed like it was the result of a one-time dose and a layer of impurities was rejected by the body and the taste was sour. And at that moment, his sister came into Yang Jun's room and asked her brother why it stank so much and what he was doing there. After this, In order to ensure that there would be no more such misunderstandings and no one would disturb him, Yang Jun decided to swim in the lake of fairies on the mountain. And suddenly at that moment some girl appeared in front of him and asked the guy if he was going to take a bath by the river. Yang Jun agreed with the beauty, and the guy was surprised that he saw new faces in this village. And were there a lot of people there? The girl smiled and told her brother that Nujia would help him swim and help him understand these areas well. Yang Jun told the girl that he already had a girlfriend, but suddenly the girl attacked him and wanted to finish him off. The guy immediately grabbed her hand and asked why they all liked to attack him on the sly. The girl said that her brother had two problems, and Yang Jun noticed that she was using a hidden weapon and asked who she was. The girl told her little brother that he could call her sister Killer Rakshas and he could better call her big friend. Unexpectedly, Yang Iyun was shocked with surprise and asked the girl if this was what he was thinking about and guessing. Rakshas said that it was a unique hidden weapon, powder from plum blossoms, and a small breath could greatly limit its actions. The girl asked the guy if he knew why she was looking for him and asked him to give her Xiaopei, otherwise his sister would torture him until he died. Yang Iyun said that in fact he did not have any recipes for Xiaopei and rumors about it were spread in order to take revenge on him. The girl asked if he thought she would believe him and suggested that his behavior was the result of side effects of the pill. But at that moment, Yang Iyun quickly broke a tree branch and made himself a weapon and told the girl that they had nothing to talk about. The girl asked the naughty brother to let his big sister let him unlock the holding wand. But when the girl wanted to hit the guy and approached him, he dealt a powerful blow in response to this girl with his stick. The girl was very surprised by this and told the guy that she was the highest warrior of the dark energy level and it was unexpected. The girl smiled and admitted defeat and asked if he could let her go and then she would repay him with kindness. Yang Iyun asked if it was not too late to beg for mercy, and since she came to him she should have been prepared for the consequences. But suddenly the girl jumped towards him and sprayed poisonous gas everywhere and said that his brother was a very naive guy. The guy thought that he was doomed because the radius of the poisonous fog was too large and he would not have time to avoid it. Yang Jun realized that his vision was deteriorating and the girl said that his skills were good and asked him to give her the Xiaopei formula. Yang Jun thought that this time he seemed to have encountered a professional killer who had more tricks than the masters. The girl asked the guy to stop resisting and said that if he did not give up the formula, then in addition she would end his grandmother and sister. The guy told Rakshas that she had finished her game and used such dirty methods and was not afraid that people could make fun of her. The girl realized that it seemed that after her words he became more serious and she decided to first hide and watch the guy from the side. The girl said that she could go through the western regions and end everyone, and besides, she was very reasonable. Yang Iyun concentrated and realized that the girl's breathing was hidden and suddenly he heard a sound behind him and thought it was a rabbit. The girl approached him and wanted to kill him, but the guy said that she could not hide her lust for murder. And suddenly at that moment the guy dodged his blow and dealt a powerful blow with his fiery hand and ended her forever. The guy realized that the poisonous fog was spreading deeper and deeper and the first thing he needed to do was get rid of this poison. The guy concentrated and thought that this was the first time he used the fire of genuine qi so carelessly. Yang Iyun thought that this girl should not have threatened his grandmother and sister because they were the people closest to him. Yang Iyun thought that he would not care about such an evil person like her, but to his surprise, he felt a drop of responsibility in his heart. After that, Yang Iyun continued on his way and went to the lake in hopes of swimming there and relaxing after all this. The guy noticed that someone else was taking a bath there and noticed and was surprised that it was really Sister Jin Feng. And at that moment the girl suddenly turned around and wondered if she had heard as if someone had just called her name. Meanwhile, Yang Iyun quickly hid behind a tree and wondered if Jin Feng had gone to the city and why did she come back. The guy thought that he couldn't look at how this girl was swimming because she was like a sister to him, and he went to the neighboring lake. Yang Jun went down into the water and thought that the divine lake was indeed a great place and, according to rumors, celestials came there to swim. The guy dived under the water and remembered his childhood years and he thought that it really was a wonderful time. When Yang Jun was swimming, he noticed that there was something in the water. He wondered if this fish and modern fish were not afraid of people. The guy looked at it and realized that it was firewood. He thought that they were all destroyed and did not expect to see her in this lake. Yang Jun used yin and yang redirection to apply the breath-holding technique and began to dive into the depths of the lake. The guy began to dive deeper and deeper and wondered if there really were such deep underwater depressions in the divine lake. And suddenly at that moment he noticed a large number of fish and understood why no one could find them, because they were all hidden at the very bottom. But suddenly Yang Iyun noticed something else at the very depths, and he became very interested and decided to swim closer there. Suddenly he noticed the skeleton of a huge monster and was very surprised by this and thought it was really the skeleton of the one he was thinking about. Suddenly, at that moment, Yun Tianxi asked the guy what he got himself into again, because he felt a flow of powerful evil spirits there. Yang Iyun asked his teacher if it was a demon, and Yun Tian said that it was the water dragon of the 8 tribulations. The teacher said that their family was unique and they rarely met, and the water dragon survived the 8 disasters and was stronger than the true dragon. And besides, the teacher noticed the grass around the dragon's blood and said that it could only grow on soil soaked in dragon's blood, and it had been growing for thousands of years. The teacher said that apparently all this grass was about 6,000 years old, and Yang Jun wondered if it was really that old. The teacher said that this medicine, even in the world of practitioners, was considered a rare, miraculous and magnificent remedy. But the teacher told the guy that now he was worried that there was a creature on earth that could finish off the water dragon. The guy listened carefully to his teacher and he was very interested, but suddenly he realized that the action of holding his breath stopped. Meanwhile, the girl continued to swim in the lake, but suddenly Yang Jun appeared in front of him with a fish on his body and said that he was suffocating. The girl lost consciousness and Yang Iyun realized that these 2 lakes were connected and thought about how he swam out to where Sister Jin Feng was. The guy pulled the girl onto land and thought that he immediately needed to bring her to her senses, and he used healing power. The girl immediately woke up and said that it looked like the guy's name was Jun and asked him what just happened to her. Yang Iyun said that it was him and he saw her faint and saved her, and asked Sister Jin Feng if she was okay. The girl asked the guy not to touch her because she had a unique power that brought men only misfortunes. Yang Jun said that he was born precisely to fight heaven and earth, opposing the will of the gods, and he was destined for collapse. But suddenly at that moment Shanshan came up to him and unexpectedly hit him in the face and asked what he was doing with Sister Jin Feng. Meanwhile, he returned home and Yang Jun prepared fish soup for the girls, and the girls said that it was very tasty. Yang Jun added a third of the luck and survival pills to the soup, seasoning the fish with dragon blood, and this one was an excellent tonic. Jin Feng also came to visit them, and Yang Iyun asked her if she had not been working in the city for the past few years and why she returned. The girl said that her mother had problems with her legs and recently her condition had deteriorated greatly and the doctor suggested amputation. Yang Iyun asked her to go there right away because he had not seen Auntie Wang for a very long time, and the girl said that she would be happy to see him. After that, they came to her house and the girl asked to look at who came to them, and she was shocked to see Yang Jun. Yuan Wang told the guy that he had grown up a lot and asked him to come to her and let the auntie look at him because he had changed a lot. Yang Jun noticed that the blood in her thigh muscles did not circulate and part of the muscles had already undergone necrosis, and it was bad. The guy remembered that in the technique that Master Yun Tian gave him, a method was described that could cure tissue necrosis. Yang Jun said that he brought her some fish. Yuan Wang said that it was an arowana and it was very expensive, so she couldn't accept it. Yang Jun said that he caught fish in the divine lake and it would be good for her body, and he said that he would bring her more. Jin Feng asked her mother to accept the fish and said that it was rare that Yang Iyun came to see her and give her a gift. And suddenly at that moment someone knocked on the door, and the girl opened the door and said that Dr. Sun had come to see them. The doctor said that there were no street lights in this area and said that he almost got lost and asked to show the patient. The girl happily ran up to her mother and said that Dr. Sun had come to them and would now help her recover. The doctor looked at Yang Jun and thought, where did this bungler come from, and everything in this house stank of fish because of him. The woman told the doctor that she went to the local hospital and the doctors said that amputation was necessary. The doctor looked at the leg and said that the area of tissue necrosis was too large and amputation was necessary. Jin Feng asked the doctor if there was really no way to save the leg, and the doctor said that there was no specialist better than him. And suddenly Yang Iyun asked him to try, and the doctor told the guy not to get in the way and asked if he even knew her illness. Yang Jun said that he knew everything and could also guarantee that if they did as he said, then her legs would recover in a month. Yang Jun said that if they believed him, he asked them to prepare him a set of silver needles and he would make her come to her senses. Jin Feng said that she believed and said that if he could help her mother, then she was ready to do anything for him. The doctor told the guy that if he could restore sensitivity to her leg, he would kneel in front of him and call him his daddy. The woman said that she was not afraid of losing her legs and she only asked him to look after Jin Feng and take care of her protection. Jin Feng was surprised by his words and Yang Yiyun asked them to postpone all conversations until later and immediately begin treating the leg. Yang Jun began treatment and the doctor looked at all this and wondered if the guy really used 5 needles and stuck them into his leg in one fell swoop. The doctor got angry and asked the guy who he wanted to fool because it was impossible to restore sensitivity to the hip in this way. The guy asked Auntie Wang how she felt and the woman said that she felt a little itching in her feet. The doctor was very surprised by this and couldn't believe his eyes because it was impossible and how did the guy manage to do it. Yang Jun told the woman that they had now cleaned out her blood vessels, but for full recovery it was necessary to constantly replenish the dead tissue. The guy said that if she did it in accordance with the treatment he suggested and took medication, she would get better in a month. The doctor immediately fell to his knees and said that he was engaged in medicine and did not think that he would meet such a qualified master. Yang Jun said that he needed to know that there is always someone better than him and he could cope with the task that he himself could not cope with. The doctor thought that this guy had skillful medical skills at such an early age but he didn't dare ask him. Jin Feng told the guy that she really didn't know how to thank him and Yang Yiyun said that her mother had already promised her to him. The girl told Yang Jun that he was the same as in childhood and he was too frivolous and asked if he dared to be with her. Yang Jun asked why not, after all, they had been together since childhood and nothing happened to him, but now everything was different. Then Yang Jun invited her to go together and swim in the divine lake and the girl asked if he was mocking her. Yang Yiyun said goodbye to the girl and said that she was an old woman and Jin Feng asked him to be careful on the way home. The woman said that there was still hope that the Feng family would not become poor following this talented and kind guy Yang Yiyun. Meanwhile, Yang Yiyun was thinking that because of the elixir of immortality, the speed of his practice had greatly increased and he still managed to reach the 3rd stage of Lianqi. And at that moment Chen Qibian entered the room and said that today was the day of the meeting and he had been looking for him all day and came to his destination. Chen Qibian saw the guy and was very surprised. He asked Yang Jun what kind of wonderful craftsmanship he just saw. The man bowed to him and asked for forgiveness for the fact that earlier he considered him weaker and Yang Yiyun asked him to quickly get up. Chen Qibian thanked the gentleman and Yang Yiyun asked the man to first take off his clothes and then eat the pill and wait for instructions. Yang Yiyun said that he wanted to transfer inner strength to him with the help of his palms to help him reach the Anjin level. Yang Yiyun got down to business and Chen realized that the guy had pure inner strength and he felt that his Mingjin had clearly begun to degenerate. Chen Qibian clearly felt that his blood vessels were constantly pulsating because of the pill, and as a result, the 1st stage of Anjin was ready. But at the same time, some strange man was standing on the street and he felt the breath of inner strength and realized that someone had reached Anjing. Yang Yiyun suddenly felt a brutal aura and someone proficient in ancient arts was heading there and Chen said that he had come for the master. Meanwhile, Yang Yiyun and Chen Qibian were standing in the grove and the guy began to approach them and said that they were able to find him. The guy asked them to immediately give him a prescription for the pills and said that then they would be preserved in the form of intact corpses. Chen Qibian called the guy an impudent man and wanted to attack him, but the guy defended himself without any problems and dealt with the man. Suddenly, after this, the guy jumped towards Yang Yiyun and Chen asked him to be careful and said that he was a master of the 4th stage of Anjin. Yang Jun thought it was bad because this master of ancient martial arts masters was a very strong fighter. The guy walked towards Chen and said that he could still move and that was not bad because he had recently reached Anjing. Chen Qibian told the master that this guy's name was Azura and he was too strong and was a killer of the western regions and they would not be able to cope with him. But suddenly Yang Yiyun thought about Azura and the earlier attacker Rakshas and realized that their clothes were similar and something connected them. Azura shot an arrow at Chen, but Yang Yiyun caught it and said that he was his opponent and it was he who ended Rakshas and the recipe for the pill was also kept by him.